First up, we have the Onyx RCR, which is probably the creme de la creme of high power and high speed electric mopeds right now. The RCR is somehow perpetually on pre-order since the company can't seem to produce them as fast as they can sell them, despite having 2 California factories now and being in business for 2 years. But the bike is worth the wait, as it can hit nearly 60 miles per hour or 100 kilometers per hour, thanks to its 3 kilowatt continuous rear hub motor that puts out around 5.5 kilowatts of peak power. I got it up to 59 miles per hour myself, and the bike felt rock solid and stable. A big part of that is the design. The frame was created by leading modern-day moped designer Tim Seward and is based on the classic Puch frames. I even took the RCR off-roading for a bit and found the ride to be quite good for such a simple little bike. Range is super variable and will depend on whether you're scooting around town at 20 miles an hour or slicing up those canyon roads at 60. In the city at 20 miles an hour, Onyx says you'll get a maximum of 75 miles or 120 kilometers of range, but you should expect that to drop off steeply once you lay heavily on the throttle. When it comes to the RCR's pedals, they're mostly vestigial and they're there to keep the bike quasi-legal. Sure, you could pedal it, but it's not a comfortable or fun bike to pedal. Those pedals are basically just footrests for all intents and purposes. Plus, at the speeds this thing can hit, you won't be able to keep up with the pedals most of the time. In addition to being the fastest moped on this list, it's also the most expensive. There's no sale right now, so it's priced at its full MSRP of $4,149, plus shipping. And while that's pretty pricey, the fact that there's a waiting list 3 states long shows that people are still lining up to fork it over for an RCR. Next, we're going in a different direction, the humble little Rad Runner from Rad Power Bikes. This cute little thing isn't particularly fast, at just 20 miles per hour, but it's a heck of a lot more affordable than the Onyx RCR, coming in at just $1,199 with free shipping. And the Rad Runner is very much a different kind of bike. It's got that step-through moped-style frame, but this bike is all about utility. I mean, just look at how many accessories you can fit on this thing. Come on! I've got mine kitted out with the passenger kit that includes foot pegs and a bench seat on the rear, but then I went and added the cargo box up front, which has been great to use as a small trunk. I like it better than the rack for things that I don't want to worry about tying down in the wind. Despite the modest top speed of 20 miles an hour, it's got a great range of up to 45 miles or 72 kilometers from its 672 watt-hour battery. And the 750 watt hub motor puts out 80 Newton meters of torque, making it plenty powerful for pulling passengers or tackling hills. There are a few places where Rad made compromises to keep the price down. The display is a super simple LED display that doesn't really give you much more info than the bare necessities of battery life and pedal assist mode. There's also no multi-speed transmission. Instead, the bike is a single speed. That doesn't bother me too much, since the gear ratio is actually pretty decent, and the bike is already quite pedalable. It doesn't feel awkward to pedal like a lot of electric mopeds do. All in all, the Rad Runner packs a few compromises, but is mostly a big winner in my book, especially for its insanely affordable price. Next up, we're checking out the Aerial Rider D-Class, an all-wheel drive electric mini bike that has power for days. Oh man, just so much power. Those motors are 750 watt nominal hubs, but Aerial Rider has them pulling 1500 watts of peak power. Between the two of them, that means you'll hit 3 kilowatts of power during acceleration. For me, that's enough to do burnouts like a piece of cake. It's also enough for high-speed riding. I hit a maximum of 33 miles per hour or 53 kilometers per hour on the Aerial Rider D-Class. At those speeds, the front suspension helps, but the lack of rear suspension means that if you hit a good-sized bump, prepare for your rear end to part ways with the seat for a heart-stopping second. Speaking of that seat, it's one of the most comfortable electric moped seats I have ever had the pleasure of sinking into. It almost makes up for the lack of rear suspension. Almost.